Welcome back to the F1 2021 My Team Series, JJLozzer Racing. It is always good to make these videos. In between the last episode and this episode, I actually upgraded a bit of the aerodynamics. We upgraded the quality control, which means the failure is reduced by 10%. And right now we're actually going to do a little bit more upgrading as well. I've decided to upgrade the personnel. The fitness center is what I'm going to upgrade as it improves. It will improve Robert Schwartzman's racecraft, awareness and focus. Of course, focus being the most important. So that will set us back $1.2 million. But we are here in episode 2 for the Spanish Grand Prix. And actually, we now have a department event, this time with the powertrain. So let's go to that and see what happens. So the powertrain department have recently requested some help to keep progress on track. They're not looking for additional budgeting, but would like some time with Robert Schwartzman to theory test some new ideas. Does Schwartzman have time to spare? If I agree to this, his racecraft goes down by 5, but we get a discount on ignition system upgrade by 10%. Also, look at the background there. Have we got a leak or something? It looks like it's raining in. Are our facilities really that bad? But in the end we go and decline it because I do not want to risk Schwartzman losing some of his stats, even if it's just for one singular race. I do not want to risk that. He needs to be performing at the best of his ability, and he's going to try and do so right now as we head to the Spanish Grand Prix. Here are the upgrades that I tried to get before the race. That went well. And here's something that I'm going to be trying for the first time as well. That is quick practice. This is a new feature in F1 2021 where you don't actually have to go out and drive and do the practice programs yourself. It is sort of like a little mini game where you can choose which program to do, and it will give you certain perks, upgrades, R&D points, etc, etc. But of course it takes time and with varying amounts of success. As you can see on the screen, we could do this one for 7 minutes 50 seconds and get a boost to engine power and weight distribution, but it's only 25% success. We could go for a 12.5 minute version of the same program and get 100 R&D points, but it would have 100% success, so it would be guaranteed to be successful. I'm not going to show you this in every single episode. I might do so, every so often, but I don't plan to show it every single episode. I might just do it if I'm talking about something and I'll just have it on in the background or something. But anyway, that's quick practice. Rest assured, I will be doing this for every race, but I won't necessarily show you me doing it, okay? Let's go to qualifying. And of course, we need to buck up our ideas a bit in qualifying, because in the first round, if you guys don't remember, I actually qualified dead last on the grid. So, we kind of need to improve that a little bit, not going to lie. How do you like the helmet, by the way? I know it's got like sponsors over it and all that sort of stuff because you can't actually get rid of them on the helmet, but anyway, the helmet is back. It's a little bit of an upgrade from the helmet I used last year. And we head out on our first flying lap of qualifying. We've actually got a Ferrari of Carlos Sainz right behind us, I think it is, and he's just completed a lap. So this will be a good gauge to see how fast we are. It is Carlos Sainz behind us as well. So he will be on an in lap most likely, as we actually put a wheel on the grass there, which does not help us whatsoever. And yeah, this Spanish track, I didn't actually drive it that much last year on last year's game. And I don't really like it all that much to drive on the F1 game. It's got, some corners are a bit, a bit off for me. I don't like them, and especially with this year's game, with going over curbs being more lethal than ever. Some corners on this track are even worse now, that is for sure. But as we come across the line then to end our first flying lap, we are dead last out of everyone who's gone so far, a full 9/10 slower than the Haas of Mick Schumacher. Yay. That was probably one of the scruffiest laps I've ever done in an F1 game, but at the end of the second lap, as you can see, we have actually gained those 9/10. So we're now ahead of Schumacher, but still behind our teammate Robert Schwartzman, so he's actually doing quite well in qualifying at the moment. So we go for a third run, one last gasp attempt to try and get into Q2. I definitely cut one of the corners there, but they allowed it. I just exceeded track limits. We've improved by 0.2. Where does that put us? We were in P20. It puts us in P20. We don't improve. So, yeah, that means that Robert Schwartzman is faster than us again. And Esteban Ocon also has a 5-place grid penalty as well, but that will literally drop him to 19th. So we're not gaining any places from that either.
Welcome along then to what promises to be another fascinating Spanish Grand Prix, a race which saw Max Verstappen win on his first ever appearance with the Red Bull team in 2016. This after the dramatic coming together of Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg on the first lap. Will we see more moments for the scrapbook here today? The Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya then, a high-speed 2.89-mile circuit which demands an efficient downforce package and bravery on the part of the driver, especially through the blind right of turn 9, which we might just see taken flat this weekend. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of turn 1, so how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
There are three main things to worry about there, Crofty: positioning, awareness and discipline. First, you have to put your car in a bit of space and make sure you have room to react to what the others are doing. Then you have to watch your mirrors and listen to the sounds around you to get a sense of where everyone is. And finally, just don't get too greedy. Just because a gap exists doesn't always mean you should go for it.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Perez, Lando Norris and Ricciardo, Leclerc, Sainz, Vettel and Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Yuki Tsunoda and Raikkonen, Mick Schumacher, Giovinazzi, George Russell and Esteban Ocon. They've taken a grid penalty. Schwartzman, Lawrence, Mazepin and Nicholas Latifi. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So there we go then, that is the grid for this race. As you can see, well, you couldn't really see there, but most of the top 10 are starting on the softs, apart from I think it was Hamilton and Perez or Verstappen. It was one of the two Red Bulls. Everyone else on softs. Everyone else is on the mediums that are not in the top 10, and we're also going to start on the mediums and do a one-stop onto hards. It's going to be very similar to how Bahrain went, I think, because quite a few of the top 10 will be doing two stops, and we'll be doing just the one. As we then head on to start the Spanish Grand Prix from P20 on the grid. Can we get a decent getaway? We've got an Alpine in front of us. He might be able to help carry us along. Lights out. And we're underway in Spain, and in fact, no, the exact opposite has happened as Esteban Ocon bogged down and got an awful start. He blocked me off there because I had nowhere to go. I was stuck behind him, but we're going to make a huge dive into turn 1 once again on Ocon and on Giovinazzi and on Mazepin. We're up into P18. Schwartzman and Schumacher, former Prema teammates in Formula 2, of course, side by side in front of me. It's a great scrap between those two, but we're just going to go ahead and overtake both of them, because why the hell not? We still got Schwartzman alongside us though as we head down the hill, and we actually get in front of him and also use that as an opportunity to get down the inside of George Russell as well. And we've made a fantastic start up into P15. We're essentially almost at the head of all of the backmarker cars. We are one of the backmarker cars, aren't we? Let's face it. It's us, Alfa Romeo, Williams and Haas, who are sort of cut adrift of the rest, although Alfa Romeo are slightly better. But we have a look maybe around the outside of Kimi Raikkonen, who slows down quite a bit there. We have a bit of an oversteer. He's also struggling already as well, but he stays ahead of us for the time being. So we look now at the start from the front. Hamilton on pole, Bottas in second, and Bottas gets away well, as does Hamilton as well. Bottas has got all the space in the world though. Verstappen is chasing Hamilton down, and Bottas down the inside of Hamilton at turn 1. It's a brilliant battle between the two Mercedes, but he finds a way through. Bottas goes into the lead of the race ahead of Lewis Hamilton, and is already pulling away from his teammate whilst Hamilton gets chased down. And now we look back again at the battle between Schwartzman and Schumacher whilst I go down the inside, and then just up the road as well. Look at that dive that I make on George Russell. Absolutely brilliant there. And I did just say that Lewis Hamilton was a bit slow and Bottas was already getting away. Well, this is lap 3 and Max Verstappen has overtaken him on the main straight and got ahead into turn 1. Has Lewis Hamilton got problems? Look at Verstappen already streaking away from the Mercedes, who's now under threat. from Sergio Perez behind as well. And Perez pulls to the outside. Hamilton goes defensive. Perez around the outside at turn 4. What a move from the other Red Bull. Both Red Bulls ahead of Lewis Hamilton in the space of a few corners. And the problems may continue here for the Brit, as look at how quickly the other Brit, Lando Norris, is closing up to him in the McLaren. He's got DRS, he's alongside, he's already ahead before turn 1 even appears on the screen. Lando Norris is up to 4th place. Surely Lewis Hamilton has an issue with his Mercedes, because he's just getting overtaken on the straight every single lap by every car that is just, you know, right behind him. Norris has already got away from Hamilton there. And the problems do continue to mount for Lewis Hamilton. Charles Leclerc is now overtaking him in the Ferrari. You can't really see it on the screen all that well, but Charles Leclerc is ahead once again before turn 1 even happens. What is going on with Lewis Hamilton's car? He must have some sort of engine issue, electrical issue, something. Daniel Ricciardo is already right on the back of the Mercedes. He's not going to overtake him into turn 4, but Leclerc's already streaked away. And on the same lap that pass happened, we're having a few issues of our own, not with the car at all, keeping George Russell behind and also trying to catch up to Kimi Raikkonen up front, as Russell has got a mega slipstream. He's got DRS, he pulls alongside us into turn 1. We have the inside line, we're going to keep it, we're going to get in front of Russell, and we're going to back him into our teammate Robert Schwartzman, and for one more lap at least, we stay in front of the Williams. And Lewis Hamilton is surely having problems with his car now, as he's now down to P7 as the other McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo overtakes him on the straight. Hamilton must have some sort of power issue here, and he's already falling into the clutches of Sebastian Vettel behind him. And Vettel decides he doesn't want to wait until the main straight. He's going to try and do it in the other DRS zone instead, into turn 10, and he goes down the inside, and it's a brilliant move from Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin. He gets ahead of Lewis Hamilton, and he gets away. Lewis Hamilton is down to 8th place. What a shocker of a Grand Prix he's having so far. Meanwhile, we're still in a battle with George Russell behind us. Sebastian Vettel's now pit. I don't know why, but George Russell's going to have another go here with DRS. He's gone to the inside this time. We're going to keep ahead of him just, but Schwartzman behind us has spun. Right behind us there, just as me and Russell were battling, Robert Schwartzman spins on the curb of turn 1, and that's unfortunate. That's exactly what we didn't want to see, is Schwartzman making mistakes like that, and for some reason, it's brought out the safety car. I don't know if something else happened on the track, but I don't think so. That was the only incident that happened. Schwartzman spinning it on the curb. He didn't hit anyone. He didn't really get in anyone's way. Schumacher was waiting for him to come back onto the track, but everyone else pretty much passed him. But now, this safety car could cause a lot of changes of strategy, including a change to my strategy as well. I decide I'm going to box this lap. As you can see, a lot of cars have come into the pit ahead of us. And we're going to box this lap. We're going to stick on a set of soft tyres. We are going aggressive. We are going to go for that 2-stop. A 2.8 second stop from the crew. Not the greatest compared to last episode's 1.8, which I just gave absolutely no credit whatsoever. 1.8 for a pit stop. That's actually ridiculous, as we absolutely screw up coming out of the pits there and have to take to the escape roads. Carlos Sainz also finds himself at the back of the field as well, along with me. I think we're the only one of the, quote, back markers, apart from Giovinazzi, who has actually come in to pit. So a lot of cars now are out of position. And I think that point is further backed up by the order of the field right now, as Valtteri Bottas leads the Grand Prix ahead of Fernando Alonso and Yuki Tsunoda. That is the current top 3. Pierre Gasly is in 4th, Kimi Raikkonen 5th, with Max Verstappen in 6th, followed by George Russell, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc and Nikita Mazepin in 10th. So the order of this race has been completely jumbled up. Lewis Hamilton is in 17th. He's managed to get back ahead of Sebastian Vettel with his strategy. But yeah, what a crazy order it is at the moment. Some who have elected not to pit and carry on with their 1-stop, others who've gambled, like myself. So here we are then, lap 9, and we are getting ready to restart under the safety car, but because I'm right at the back, it restarts in such an awkward place halfway through the final chicane, and that means that I get an absolutely awful getaway, as Sainz clears off, basically. He's gone, he's out of here. We're right at the back here. We're already 8/10 behind the Ferrari. But don't forget, we are on soft tyres. As Sainz is already pressuring Giovinazzi ahead of him, we're on soft tyres. We have a tyre advantage. Not many cars are on the soft tyres. In fact, I don't know if any cars are on the soft tyres right now. As Sainz looks for a move around the outside of Giovinazzi, thinks better of it, into turn 4. And at the moment, the order here at the back remains the same as we almost have a look at around the outside of Sainz there. So this is how the restart went up front then, with Valtteri Bottas leading everyone away down the pit straight, and Yuki Tsunoda looks like he's going to have a go at Fernando Alonso here. He's got much better straight line speed than the Alpine. He's going to have a go into turn 1. Alonso has the inside line, but Tsunoda hangs it round there, has the inside line for turn 2, has a bit of a correction, and Alonso remains ahead of the Japanese driver, the Alpine, ahead of the AlphaTauri. Bottas is already getting away from the field as Kimi Raikkonen comes under pressure from Max Verstappen, and George Russell and Lando Norris going side by side into turn 4 as well, but Norris remains ahead in that battle, and Russell is now under pressure from Charles Leclerc behind, but there's nothing doing in that battle at the moment. Meanwhile, in our battle at the back, I sense an opportunity here as Giovinazzi and Sainz go side by side into turn 10, and I have a loop down the inside of Sainz into turn 11. That's a brilliant bit of optimism there from us. Sainz taps us, we're drifting around the corner, but we get ahead of the Ferrari, and now we set our sights in front to the Alfa Romeo of Giovinazzi. I think about having a look into the chicane, but that probably wasn't the best idea, and very good of me to back out of that one, to be fair. But now we've also got a Ferrari to defend from as well as an Alfa Romeo to catch up to. At the moment there's no DRS, which is good for us because, well, if there was, it'd be game over and Sainz would already be past us in a heartbeat. We're now on board with Charles Leclerc on lap 11 as he looks to try and get past George Russell. Russell got overtaken by Norris on the restart. Charles Leclerc still looking to get past him. It's a brilliant move around the outside from the Ferrari. We now go on board with Russell to see how Leclerc completes that move. It's a fantastic move from the Ferrari driver, and George Russell loses yet another place down to P9. Meanwhile, while that was going on, we're now back on our POV as we look to chase down Antonio Giovinazzi. We take a wider line into turn 3 and get such better traction than the Alfa Romeo. We go alongside him into turn 4. He's still alongside us as we turn into the corner, but we end up running him out of room, so much so that Carlos Sainz also gets past him, and now Sainz is going to have a look at us into turn 5. We get a tyre on the gravel there. Sainz is behind us. Sainz is trying to go round the outside of us there. That is not an overtaking place, Carlos. And so much so that he actually taps my right rear tyre and goes off into the gravel himself. And now we're trying to defend from Giovinazzi. That was a bit of a stupid move from Carlos Sainz there. There was absolutely no room. I was taking the race in line. What is he doing? We now head on to lap 13 in a battle for 11th place between Nikita Mazepin and Lewis Hamilton as we head on to the second DRS zone, the back straight. Mazepin has the inside line into turn 10. Hamilton hangs it around the outside. A Mercedes against a Haas. I didn't think I'd be seeing this, but Mazepin loses control of his car and spins into turn 11, and that's actually going to help us out massively. Because of Mazepin's spin, everyone's had to slow down. He also drives through the bollard for good measure, and we've now caught up to all of those cars ahead. And 3 laps later, we are on the back of this humongous battle. Ocon, Vettel, Perez, Ricardo I think is in there as well. We've got DRS. We're going to have a look maybe. We're going to dive down the inside of the Alpine. Esteban Ocon is now behind us. We're battling much better cars than us. We have a bit of a moment. We do almost what Mazepin did. He hit that particular curb and spun round as a result of it. But we're now going to see and set our sights forward onto Vettel. Perez, Schumacher is probably the one that was holding up a bunch of these guys as well. He is in front of these two. This is amazing. Like, we've got these kinds of cars battling all the way down here. Schwartzman's in the pits and he has a 5-second time penalty for some reason as well. As we now watch Vettel and Perez going at it down the main straight. Perez remains ahead of Vettel, but Vettel's going to try and get the place. He's gone down the inside. He's got the inside line. We're on board with Sergio Perez. He's looking to try and get back down the inside of the Aston Martin, but the Aston Martin has taken 11th place ahead of the Red Bull, and we just sat back with some popcorn and watched that unfold in front of us. It was amazing. And lap 17, it is our turn to try and get after Sergio Perez. We are starting to feel a little bit of tyre wear now. The front left is definitely bearing the brunt of it, 50% wear, as we maybe do a humongous dive on Sergio Perez into turn 1. We bang wheels, we then bang side pods as well, but we've managed to get ahead of him. We've overtaken a Red Bull. However, the joy of running in the points will be short-lived as we come into box for our second stop of this race. Of course, originally it was supposed to only be a one stop from mediums to hards. We boxed for softs under the safety car, and now we're going to stick on another set of medium tyres. But again, we are going to have the tyre advantage over everyone else, as most of everyone else is on the hard tyre. 2.4 seconds, not bad at all for a stop. And whilst we were in the pits, this battle was going on, going right past us. This is Lewis Hamilton starting to get his own back a bit as he overtakes Daniel Ricciardo into turn 1. He has to work for it, but he does eventually get past the McLaren, although the McLaren does hang it round the outside but runs out of room there to try and stay alongside. And Hamilton is back up into 5th place. Bottas leads from Verstappen from Norris. Now we look back to our POV as we come out of the pits. That battle's just happened as we've gone past us. We've come out of the pits behind Latifi and Schumacher and ahead of the Alpine of Esteban Ocon, but he's going to quickly make inroads on us here. We go around turn 3. We've had a bit of a poor turn 3 there, it has to be said, and Ocon has got the jump on us here. He's going to try and go down the inside, and we're going to go all the way around the outside here. No one's giving an inch here. We're almost pushed onto the grass by Esteban Ocon. We actually bang wheels there as we go around turn 5. Ocon on the outside, and he's done exactly what Carlos Sainz did. He's gone off into the gravel after tapping my rear left tyre. Again, that one's not really my fault. He should have backed out of that one. But we don't let that phase us, and we actually move on. Lap 19, we've got Schumacher and Latifi ahead of us here, and we've got the overspeed on Schumacher, who has DRS on Latifi. We're going to dive down the inside of Schumacher, who locks up at turn 10, and we're ahead of the Haas. I know it's only a Haas and Williams and cars like that we're overtaking, but at least it's a bit of content, isn't it? We may be at the back, but at least we're running at the back in a bit of style as we quickly close up on Nicholas Latifi. And on the very next lap, we're right up the back of him here. Apologies for the poor camera angles here. I didn't really get a clean run of this on the onboard camera, so unfortunately this is what you're going to have to deal with. As we look at my rear wing, we've closed up to Latifi. This is another really poor camera angle, but we go around the outside of him at turn 10, and as we come out of turn 10 into turn 11, we're ahead of the Williams. We've done it. Apologies again if you could barely see what actually happened there, but essentially I went for a move around the outside at turn 10, stuck it around there. It was the inside line for turn 11 and turn 12, and there you go, that's how I got past. And now if you just quickly have a glance at the top left, look at how far behind George Russell we are, 4.1 seconds. That is our target for the rest of this race. For the last 12 laps of this race, that is our target. Catching up to George Russell whilst also keeping Latifi behind as well. We're in a Williams sandwich at the moment, although the bottom filling of the sandwich is certainly closer to us than the top filling right now, the top piece of bread. That is George Russell. He's 3.8 seconds up the road, and we can catch him. We can definitely catch him. And whilst we're in hot pursuit of George Russell, unfortunately for Esteban Ocon, his awful race goes from bad to worse as he retires from the Grand Prix. Of course, he had that tussle with us. Into turn 5, ended up on the gravel. He started in P20, got an awful start, and he pulls to the side of the track with a smoking engine. But here we are then, lap 28. It's taken us 7 laps, and we are now in DRS distance from the Williams of George Russell. If we get ahead of him here, we will finish at the head of all of the back markers, because or at least all of the ones that are still there, I'm pretty sure. I don't think any of the other back markers, the Alfa Romeos, the Haas's or the Williams, are ahead of George Russell currently. So we are going to fight this all the way to the end to see if we can possibly maybe get ahead of the Brit. And we've stuck behind him in DRS distance here for 2 laps, but now on to lap 30. This is where our best chance of overtaking him comes. We're closing up to him, heading towards turn 1. We've already had a couple of battles in turn 1 already. We're about to have another one as we touch going into turn 1, and we've got ahead of the Williams. We are ahead. We are up into P14. and in the end of it, it's not actually too bad, is it really? And actually, when it comes to it, we are going to be doing one less lap of this race, as Valtteri Bottas, the race leader, is now approaching me. We are on lap 32 of 33, so that means that as Bottas passes us into turn 3, we are now on our final lap of the race, and that is it for us. We are going to come home to finish P14, which is a decent result, come to think of it. You know, we started in P20, we made a 2-stop strategy work, unlike some of the other guys, the likes of Russell and Schumacher and Mazepin and Giovinazzi. Oh no, Giovinazzi did pit. Some of the guys behind us did 1 stop from mediums to hards. We've done 2-stop, which is brilliant for us.
And Mercedes have pulled off a great victory here today. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Without a doubt, the safety car changed everything today. The key to their success was keeping calm and reacting to the situation quickly. We've seen teams in the past throw away wins because they were too hesitant, but here they were decisive, and that's allowed them to take the advantage.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes.
So there we go then, that is your top 3. Valtteri Bottas wins the Spanish Grand Prix ahead of Max Verstappen, and Lando Norris is on the podium already. Just like he did in the second race of the real life season, he's done it in the second race of this F1 2021 My Team season. Lovely stuff from the McLaren man. As we take a look at the final results, Lewis Hamilton did a fantastic job to actually claw it back to P4. Don't forget, after like the first few laps, he was in P8 with some sort of issue on his car, surely. We finish in P14, just behind Sebastian Vettel, Carlos Sainz and Lance Stroll. Robert Schwartzman ended up finishing in P17, despite having a 5-second time penalty. The Alfa Romeos both finished in 20th and 21st, the bottom 2. Giovinazzi actually did only make 1 stop in the end, but just look at where we are there. We made 2 stops and we're ahead of all those guys below us. That is pretty exceptional. You've got to say it for sure. As we have a quick look at the standings then, we are down to P14 in the standings. However, we are the highest placed driver without a point, and that's all I'm bothered about at the moment. Until we get points, as long as I remain the highest placed driver without one, that's fine by me. Robert Schwartzman's gone down to P18, as George Russell has got ahead of him as well. And as we look at the constructors real quick, we have dropped to P8 as a result of Alpine getting points. Simple as that, really. We were in P7, we were ahead of them. Williams have also got ahead of Haas because of George Russell's result. And yeah, that's pretty much it for those results of that race. And after the race as well, we get some welcome news that we can actually add a second sponsor to the car. We've gained enough acclaim to be able to pick a second sponsor. So after much deliberation, looking at the targets and all of that sort of stuff, we end up going with Salve. Weekly income of 123k pretty much, and a gold bonus of 132k. The objective is beat your rival in a race. Simple as that. We don't even have a rival yet, but at the moment, with my qualifying performances, I highly doubt that I'll be out qualifying said rival, depending on who it is. So yeah, we go with Salve, and as we plaster their logo all over the car, that is how this episode is going to end. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to hit that like button down below, as I'm really enjoying making these at the moment, even though this is only the second one. There'll definitely be more to come for sure. If you don't want to miss a video, hit that little bell next to the subscribe button, and if you don't know what that subscribe button is, hit it, because that means that you will see that your video in your sub box every day. I don't upload every day, but every time I upload it'll be there. I've completely screwed up the outro, but I'm just gonna go with that. Until next time, thanks so much for watching.